like to introduce Rose Stevens, who is currently the Acting Manager of NICA. Let's give Rose a great welcome.
Good morning, everyone. I'm short, I'm smooth. Okay, it was very interesting this morning to hear information about the past and the future. Having been at NICA now for just on 4 months, I can't really speak about the past too much. Certainly speak about the present and hopefully a little bit about the future. Firstly, I'd like to just thank the general circus community, and in particular NICA, for the very warm welcome that I've received since arriving on July the 1st. It's been a baptism of fire, shall I say, an enjoyable experience, but also an incredibly challenging one. So what's been happening since I started at NICA? I'll just give you a few highlights about some events that have occurred. We've just returned from a very successful study tour with our second year students. 18 students have been to Auch in the south of France for the FEDEC Festival. They also visited circus schools in London, Paris and in Berlin. The students had a great time. It was a fantastic experience for them. Partially supported by the Richard Pratt Creative Fellowship, to which we're from the Pratt Foundation, which we're very grateful, and also supported by the students who fundraised almost $20,000 themselves selling chocolates, etc. So fantastic. That is a fantastic lot of chocolates. I'm not sure what else they sold, but considerable funds. Okay. Secondly, we introduced a new initiative a couple of months ago where traditionally all final year students have performed in a final showcase. The decision was made at the end of last year, I believe, to audition for a space in that final performance. So a couple of months ago we ran a couple of nights with guests from the circus industry to judge our students and to provide feedback to the students. This was an incredibly successful process. I believe the conversation went long into the evening, well past midnight. We have evaluated that process and reviewed whether we continue with that process or not, and it's been a unanimous yes. So next year we hope to invite a lot more of you along to have more than the 2 nights that we had this time around. That feedback is incredibly valuable for both staff and students, and I'm hoping that this will become a tradition at NICA. Something else that we've had a bit of a prototype with this year is what we're calling open training, and that is making NICA premises available to industry professionals after hours and at times when we can fit you in. So we're just about to go through a review of how that's functioned this year. Feedback seems to be fairly positive. So watch this space and we'll certainly let people know when and how we plan to roll out that program. We also had our Certificate 4 students perform in the Victorian State School Spectacular just after I arrived. That was a fantastic experience for those students, and I believe that will continue, that process. That's probably, probably one of the best pieces of news for NICA is that shortly after I arrived, negotiations, conversations with the federal government were successful, and we have in place for NICA a 4-year funding arrangement, of which we're incredibly pleased and also thankful. So that secures a lot of things for NICA, at least over the next 4-year period. Now, things for the future. The new iteration of the 3-year degree program, the Bachelor of Circus Arts, has been through an incredibly arduous process in terms of reaccreditation. A whole lot of things changed for all universities last year, or actually the year before, but they're in train and need to be completed by the start of 2015. And that is going through a vigorous quality assurance process. Now, most universities have had to embrace this as a 2-year, at least, long process to investigate degrees, investigate the learning outcomes, make them compliant with if you like, the educational framework. I'm pleased to announce that the Bachelor of Circus Arts has been through that process, has been through the Academic Senate, and it is accredited, and it will run at the start of next year. So this is a great news for us. You will also have heard stories about Swinburne University and the sale of the Prahran campus. I don't have a final update on that, but I can say that negotiations are well underway with NIT, Northern Metropolitan Institute of TAFE, and that we have NICA has commenced conversations with NIT around the provision of services such as continuing the maintenance and continuing using the student services, etc. That's all very positive. I would hope that there will be a final roundup of advice around that by the end of the year, and we'll certainly publish that through our e-newsletter and Friends of NICA. I do have one piece of confirmed information, that is that they're going to keep our library, the Circus Libraries, intact, and it's not moving everywhere, so that one's signed off, which is great. What else have I got? Another initiative that we're looking at for next year, and I've commenced conversations with a number of you on this matter, and that is the provision of accredited training for people who are already in the industry and who perhaps don't have a qualification. NICA in the past has not been able to do much in that space, but we intend to make that as a priority for us next year. So watch out for some information about that. It will be a combination of recognition of prior learning and experience, and perhaps some gaps training around units that might not be, part of your experience. I think that's about it, and I'm pretty sure my 5 minutes is well and truly up, so I'll shut up now and go and sit down. Thank you.